This is the time to stand up now. We can't carry on like this.
I will call you in the morning. Well, there's nothing I can do, is there? Hello, Eve. Did you do swashbuckling? What's he doing?
This is the time to stand up now. We can't carry on like this. is the time to stand up now. We can't carry on like this. This is the time to stand up now. We can't carry on like this. This is the time to stand up now. We can't carry on like this.
Too often, I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. Again, barefaced lies. Too often, I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. Again.
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. You can put one where it's all gonna end, yeah. You can feel it without a lot to defend, yeah. 'Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shooting cold, overgrown, postal phone, barefaced lies.
Barefaced lies. Barefaced lies.
Hey son, you got a party, got that little party going on there. Keep to the left, you can't think right, so everything you do goes wrong, yeah. Incompetence just leads to disaster. Corruption brings it on even faster. What you say?
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. gonna spend ya. But you won't wonder where it's all gonna end ya. If you think we ever wanna defend ya. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit and cold, overflowing, postal folding, bare-faced. That's right, and we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend ya. But you won't wonder where it's all gonna end ya. If you think we ever wanna defend ya. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit and cold, overflowing, postal folding, bare-faced lies.
Bare-faced lies. Bare-faced lies.
Comrades, you always told us you'd build us all a new Jerusalem, yeah. You talk the talk, but when you walk, you only leave a crooked line there. And you don't see the trouble that's brewing if all you do is just what you're doing.
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. But you won't wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah. But you think we ever wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit and cold, overflowing, postal throwing, bare-faced lies. Is this where you wanna be? Debt and childhood poverty. Will somebody set us free from this corrupt kleptocracy? Oh yeah.
Bare-faced lies.
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. But you won't wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah. But you think we ever wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit and cold, overflowing, postal flowing, bare-faced. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. But you won't wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah. But you think we ever wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit and cold, overflowing, postal flowing, bare-faced. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. But you won't wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah. But you think we ever wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit and cold, overflowing, postal flowing, bare-faced. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. But you won't wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah. You think we ever wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit and cold, overflowing, postal flowing, bare-faced.
Barefaced lies indeed. Barefaced lies. Good evening. And I did this pre-intro bit beforehand, and it's meant to whip you up and create a atmosphere. And I'm struggling because I've been laughing whilst it's been playing. It is available on iTunes. We have jumped through the hoops, and there's a link on the Recusant 9 Facebook page to it's available on iTunes. I think you can buy it for 79 pence and put it to your ringtones and all the rest of it. But whatever money comes back this one, it'll go to the Proud of Oldham campaign to try and help oust these corrupt politicians from controlling our town. Just before we roll the credits, I'm not quite sure where this is going to end in terms of what these gangsters want to do. And what I mean by that is, after everything they have already tried to do to silence me, the news is, and I've heard this from reputable sources, multiple reputable sources, and it shouldn't surprise any of us. About 18 months ago, Councillor Shahid Mushtaq's brother, Tahir Mushtaq, masquerading falsely as a solicitor, took to social media where he claimed that I had a sexual relationship with a 14-year-old child. Now, in the world I come from, having a sexual relationship with a 14-year-old child is not a sexual relationship. It's not a relationship. It's rape. It's child abuse. Would it surprise any of you that for 18 months gangsters from Glodick have been desperately looking through my past, along with Jim McMahon, Sean Fielding, and Wilby, and a whole host of them, attempting to find dirt and sleaze on me. And having failed, they are now offering these people, these gangsters, these sleazebags, in an attempt to, I'm not quite sure how it works, because even if all the things they say about me is true, it doesn't take away the truth I say about McMahon, the cartels, and all of them. But you know what they've been doing? And then let's face it, they're not the brightest of criminals, because most of them spent most of their adult lives in prison. You know, they might be gangsters, they might have guns and grenades. They might intimidate people and try to intimidate people, but they're not the brightest of criminals, are they? Do you know what they've been doing? They've been offering money. These people have been offering money to women to come forward and claim that I have sexually abused them, sexually assaulted them, domestic violence. I don't know, but you get the picture. These muppets have been trying to find women to pay them, or pay their boyfriends, or pay their pimps, to claim that somehow I am an abuser. Now, my message to every one of you women who might be tempted to go through with this is that I will pursue you through the courts, and I'm sure the police, even the inept Greater Manchester Police, one of the questions they would ask you is, what was your connection to these Pakistani goons before you came forward? As for me, you carry right on. Make up what you want. It makes no difference to me.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. On the 20th of November 2003, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon was elected councillor for the Failsworth East Ward of Oldham. Deeply ambitious, he ruthlessly rose to power, and by 2011, he was already leader of the council. In 2015, exploiting a Labour Party loophole, he became MP for Oldham West and Royton. If only the people of the town knew then what they now know. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.
Good evening. Another Recusant 9 transmission. This is Sunday evening, the 25th of April 2021. Just one more transmission after this before election night, where we hopefully finally oust a number of these corrupt politicians from our town. It's time we got rid of them. Let's, before we get on, please, there is a support me thing. Paul and Jill have just donated, so I'm very kind. Thank you very, very much. buymeacoffee.com/recusant9. You've heard what I've just shared with you. It is the truth. These people are trying to pass me off as some form of child abuser now, having failed with everything they have tried to do to silence me. These goons, these gangsters, these cartel clowns from Glodick. Nah, I'm going to keep carrying on and keep carrying on and keep carrying on. So you guys carry on whatever nonsense you want to do. Please, if you haven't already, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Like this transmission. I have got 25 of you liking it, and I've got 77 on my screen showing watching it so far. So please just like it at the bottom of your screen. You'll see, it'll just scroll up. Like the transmission. It does wonders for our analytics. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel. And the last thing is, please, I mean, I keep asking you because it's as, you know, it's as simple as that. I need your support. buymeacoffee.com/recusant9. all of the money goes towards keeping these transmissions going. It's no more complicated than that from my point of view. A very, very good evening to all of you. I can see many familiar names. I think it's always in Charles Garrett is always the first one to say hi, so he must have it on ready to go on. Hi to my friend Lee. I've not seen you in a while, Lee, so I look forward to having a cup of coffee with you sooner rather than later. And no, Sue, no, don't believe him for a second. Have you had a good day with Moib and Didsbury? I'll tell you what happened. Yes, I've been helping the lads do the markets. I think I said to you last week. So I was somewhere yesterday. I was at Larry yesterday, and I was at West Didsbury today. Moib rocked up at 2:30, and he took a picture, had a stroll round, made a couple of executive decisions, and buggered off by 3:15. I was the one who left my house at 6:45 in the morning, and I'm laughing at this picture he's put up on Facebook. You know why I didn't put any pictures up? Because I didn't have any time to put any pictures up apart from the one after I set the stall up in the morning. Oh, he is a special individual. Here you go. See? Indeed. All right, let's go. Oh, we have Paul Shilton on soon. There's a couple of things I want to do. There's a video I want to play. Whilst I'm playing the video, I went and vlogged on Friday morning from Westwood to Chatterton, and it's about 45 minutes. So I'm going to play it because I think it's important for you to see it and watch me walking from one space to another. And if you can, please have a look and just bear with it. But I think it's really, really important. But let me set the scene. Yes, Paul. Good evening, Paul. So you've got the link, and about 8:30 we think Paul will be on, and I think you really, really need to listen to what this mild-mannered, quietly spoken, and for Paul to get angry, I think is something substantial needs to have took place. So I think he needs to come on and do that. Some scene setting. I put up a picture of this guy and I went through his past. I found it interesting that Sean Fielding is asking people to go and look on the past of the other candidates when he's clearly not looking on the past of his own candidates. So this is Naz Islam, Chatterton North Labour Party candidate. Here he is, campaigning alongside Jim McMahon on one side, Arud Shah on the other, Councillor Mohan Ali behind him, and the now infamous Mohibur Rahman of the CSDA, former chairman of the youth wing of the OBA. Here is Jim McMahon, Mohan Ali, you can see, the North Chatterton councillor. Next to him is behind him in the back corner is the current Labour councillor from North Chatterton. So these two lads are the two North Chatterton councillors, OBA expansion. The guy at the front right with the beard from Oldham Central Mosque. Next to Jim McMahon, we now know is this infamous sex offender. Sheikh Mohammed Al-Fumia, infamous sex offender from North Chatterton. Here is a man called Talkador Rahman, Wahidor Rahman, Motiur Rahman, Lutfur Rahman, so on, Habibur Rahman, Jibbar Ahmed, Harun Ali, all linked to Mr. Mohibur Rahman's CSDA, guilty of serious fraud 6 months before Jim McMahon assisted in the sale of the Carnegie Library, the Chatterton Baths, and the old Victorian police station in Chatterton to Mohibur Rahman's CSDA. Mohibur Rahman went and promptly created this school called Blackstone Academy. It was rated inadequate, and as I disclosed last week, here is Mohibur Rahman again. You can see him with Jim McMahon. I think that's Dr. Chowan in the background at another function. And What this school did was the head teacher of this school groomed 2 of his students and married both of them. Jim McMahon has nothing to say, neither does Mohibur Rahman, neither does Oldham Council. Seems sex offending in our schools is fine. And just so we know how powerful these people are, here is Mohibur Rahman alongside the deputy leader of the Labour Party, Angela Rayner. The lad next to him is another Labour Party candidate. And they are in, I think by the looks of that, that's the Westwood East. And those of you who are familiar with the history of Westwood will know all about the scandal of how the Westwood East was acquired by people linked to Oldham Council, and how upstairs in the Westwood East the infamous telecars taxi grooming gang operated. Those of you who question the OBA expansion into North Chatterton and the council complicity and endorsement should have a look at this. This was an event facilitated by Oldham Council. Oldham, Chatterton North and Westwood Active Neighbourhood Workshop 1. In the Civic Centre, people are already, these council officers are already working, drawing maps of the town where Westwood, which is part of Calders, is considered to be the same as Chatterton North. And the only person who can stop OBA expansion into North Chatterton is this lady, Tracy Woodward. Right, I am going to play you this. I'm available on the left-hand side, so I can type comments and respond to questions as this is playing. Okay, I've been meaning to do this for a while, but we're finally here, finally got the equipment, so let's get it on. I am here in Westwood. This is the street where I grew up. This is Widdop Street where I grew up, and I'm going to have a walk round all the way around what I consider to be the OBA cartel controlled areas. Ignore the sun behind me, it'll get better as we go along, and give you an analysis of what we're up to. So behind me is number 31, the end house there. That's where I grew up. 2 doors down, Moyib still lives there, so that's where Moyib grew up. And behind us, you can't see it for the sun, behind us every day we'd wake up and you could see the Civic Centre. That's where it is, right behind us there. And so these people who say we're anti-council, we're not anti-council at all. None of us have ever been anti-council. The council is a place where we grew up, where we went for help, and the council helped us, and that unfortunately has changed. Lamppost behind me here, it's moved its spot. It's a newer lamppost these days, but the lamppost behind me there is where I would do my homework, and it's how I got to college, it's how I got to university, and it's how I made my way out of what, unfortunately many of us grew up, looked around, and we know it's a ghetto. It's what it is. People don't move into these places, and people very rarely move out of these places, and it's a shame. So, walking along Widdop Street. When we grew up, all of these houses were predominantly white. This park to the left of me here, this was all houses, and for a long time it was just rubble, and we'd play in the rubble. And now there's a little park behind me, and there's a swing behind me as well. You can see that, but there's a little park and there's a swing behind me, and the little park and the swing is kind of where is the extent of the achievements of the council. I think one of the councillors put it up recently that she'd secured a swing in the area. So that's what she'd done. She'd secured a swing in the area, and that's what we've grown to expect. Now, the area isn't poor. Don't for 1 minute think it's poor. You can see the Range Rover behind me. You can see the Audi behind me. This area is far from poor. It's cash rich. It's cartel cash rich. So it's a very interesting dynamic here. I think I will just hold up here and show you the park behind me. And growing up, this was the extent of our world. These 3 or 4 streets were the entire extent of our world. How you doing? So I'm gonna take the. So this guy here is a millionaire right behind me, right? He's hiding his face now. Millionaire, billionaire? Yeah, indeed. Indeed. Hold on, let me stop it and say hello to you. So yeah, that was one of the local millionaires. Grew up with him, went to the mosque with him, used to get the crap kicked out of him at the mosque by the imam. But he didn't want to talk on camera, but that's fine. He says to me, I can't say anything because it'll affect my business. And he's right. That's how powerful these guys are. And he also talked about the swing behind me, and he said he bet it cost £100,000 to make the swing, which is probably about right. The mill behind me, Anchor Mill, all gone now, owned by Asian businessmen these days. And for every bit of dodgy money, there's decent people here. And the guys who ended up owning the mill, they owned it in a right and proper way. They pooled the money together, and a bunch of friends bought a building that actually the council failed with. Council massive regeneration scheme here. The council, I think, invested millions of pounds in doing up this building, Anchor Mill, and then they found out that they didn't own the mill. They'd just been renting it and spent millions of pounds. And yeah, another one to put down. So let's have a walk. Let's walk to the bottom. Social housing behind me. These were old people's houses when we grew up, and we'd be sent round to go and check on them, really, and do their little front gardens and things like that. But I think those days have gone. You can see them there behind me. So we're going to walk down Featherstone Road. This is Cartel Street, Cartel Road, heart of the OBA cartel, right here. And no, I'm not walking at 6 in the morning or 7 in the morning. I think it's about 11 o'clock in the morning now when I'm walking along. And we're walking towards the mosque and the community centre. Now all of these businesses here, you can see next to me, behind me here, they're all owned by key figures in the OBA or family members. And the issue with a lot of them, unfortunately, an issue with a lot of these businesses here is that thing they call modern day slavery. Well, that thing called modern day slavery is live and well on OBA Cartel Road here. There are many people who work below minimum wage, are forced to work below minimum wage, and they're on benefits, they're illegal, so they shouldn't be here anyway, so they're exploited. And it goes on all along the street. It goes on. That's the mill behind me. Probably should have come out later with the sun behind me, or planned the route differently, but I haven't. And here is the mosque to my right. So I'm going to stop at the mosque and do a spin and a chat. Let me see if I can get out the sun. Just give me a second. Here we go. So here I am outside Oldham Central Mosque. Now, stories of a beginning. And in the same way I showed you where I was raised and where I grew up, this site and this mosque is in many ways a beginning for this story. And what happened here was 2 years ago, there was a bitterly fought election campaign involving Ruji Sultan, the Labour Party candidate, and Montaz, who was the independent who's currently standing now. And what Ruji had access to was Jim McMahon, and she had access to the mosque. This later was exposed to have been a mosque built using public funds
on an interest-free loan over 18 years. The council lied. The council tried to hide the fact that they lent the OBA hundreds of thousands of pounds to build this mosque and then pay it back as and when. And in return, what is very clear is this mosque is controlled by the OBA cartel, the Labour Party cartel in this area, and they provide the block vote to the Labour Party, in particular Jim McMahon in recent years. And what has took place here is Jim McMahon and the openly courts this mosque. So he'd come to celebration parties for votes, he'd come to and attend events and functions here, and in return the Imam would preach in the pulpit, and it would be an unwritten rule: those who come to this mosque support the Labour Party. And scattered across Westwood and Coldham, there are a whole host of mosques, and ask any of them and they'll say this mosque doesn't belong to everyone. This is the Labour Party mosque, this is the OBA mosque, this is the mosque where these guys deliver a block vote to Jim McMahon, block postal vote to Jim McMahon. 2017 election, Jim McMahon's record number of postal votes, and the highest votes he got came from the ward of Coldhurst and was delivered by the OBA. So it is as simple as that. It's no more complicated than that. And what happened here was a massive scuffle broke out because Jim McMahon and Arood Shah had arranged to come and campaign at the mosque. Unheard of that an MP should be campaigning this way for a local Coldhurst, a councillor candidate, and he should be attending a mosque to do so. But as we walk on and as I continue to tell this story, you'll see that there's a dark connection in these cartel control areas of the roles that mosques play in supplying the Labour Party, white Labour Party politicians in the main, with a block vote through which they build their power base. So let's carry on. But I don't come to this mosque anymore, unfortunately. Whole host of reasons, and it isn't just because it's run by the OBA cartel. It's also a very misogynistic place. The last time I came was on Eid prayers, where the Imam decided to do a sermon on how men should be telling women how to dress, and I've not stepped foot in it since. I come outside, I suppose, for funerals and stuff, that for family members, but I don't come anymore. So there you go, Oldham Central Mosque right behind me, as bent as anything, run by the Labour Party, run by the OBA cartel, and immediately opposite is the OBA Millennium Centre. This is the council-funded OBA Millennium Centre. And the OBA Millennium Centre, and I'll just carry on walking along, I'll cross the road, I'll tell you the story of the OBA Millennium Centre. But the OBA Millennium Centre behind me was funded by regeneration money, lottery money, involving the council. Hundreds of thousands disappeared. The builders that are involved were, they'll tell you themselves, I'm sure. Money disappeared. It was never finished to the spec it was designed for. And the management committee now involves the council because of the dodginess that took place. And even then, it's still as dodgy as anything. It's, again, the way the centre is run is that it's exclusive. Some people can use it, others can't use it. And it's just how it is. It's just how it is here. Abdul Jabbar launched his re-election campaign inside the OBA Millennium Centre, and he launched his re-election campaign inside the OBA Millennium Centre alongside the convicted sex offender, who was also this convicted sex offender. He was also the chairman of this mosque behind me. All OBA directors, all of them Labour Party members. In fact, the convicted sex offender was also a former Labour Party candidate in Coldhurst. Carry along, Featherstall Road. It's all the sorts of businesses that Oh yeah, the Samosa shed was back there. You know that famous Samosa shed where 5 businesses all got the £10,000 grant, including the Samosa shed? Yeah, all of these businesses down here have done really well out of COVID. The council handouts they've been receiving has been more than they officially turn over in a year. So they've all done really well. I'm going to cross over here. If I can cross, that is. So I get looks, and I'm waiting to see if someone comes out and tries to lamp me, which will be interesting. Behind me here, this used to be the famous 11 Ways pub. We used to sneak in here when we were young to play pool. And the guys, you know, used to let us. You know, it wasn't this, they present this racist world, and it just wasn't. The landlord would happily let us sneak in and play pool, and some of our uncles would come in and sneak into the corner and drink their pints of bitter. It wasn't this, the world wasn't what it was presented to be. Now, I'm going to go and have a look at this thing here. Sit on these steps. So what you have behind me, if you can see it, is a memorial that I think the council funded it. I found it really bizarre, but the council funded it, and it was to do with the war of independence between Bangladesh and Pakistan. So when Bangladesh was formed, there was these memorials. There's a main one, and these are just mimics of that main one. So and I always found it divisive. I always found these things like this really divisive, because what they were doing, what these people are doing, was bringing the ethnic politics, the politics that our fathers had left behind, and embedding them in the communities that took them in. And we all really struggled with it. But the council, in its wisdom, supported these people. And again, it's an OBA cartel thing behind me. All of this is OBA cartel, OBA cartel land. And this is OBA Cartel Street, really, the Ferrislow Road. This is the road parallel, main road. And one of the reasons I'm doing this way is because I want to show people just how run down some of these communities are, and that some of these spaces are. There's this perception that these Asian areas got millions and millions and millions in grants at the expense of some of the white communities. And in one hand, they did. But the truth is, the money never made it through to the actual communities. It was just top sliced and top sliced. And before you knew it, by the time the money made it down to where it was supposed to be, it already all gone. It's a very familiar story to anyone who understands councils and poor communities. The poverty of the communities draws in the investment, the government grants, but these communities never benefit from it. It's a shame, really. The sun. I have got an ND filter on it, but we'll see how it goes. I'm coming this way for a reason. So what you've got to the left of me and coming up that you'll pass on the right is new social housing, a relatively new social housing. Housing association, social housing, and what this social housing is a massive issue in these communities, because you can't just fill in a form and go on a waiting list to get houses in the OBA cartel controlled Westwood and Coldust. You've got to pay your dues, and the people who benefit from these houses are the ones who supply the OBA cartel, Jim McMahon and all the others with the block vote. It's as simple as that. It's a bribe. If you want to get your they've not moved, they've stayed where they are, and they're continuing to work in an area, even though the area's drastically changed around them, but they're still here. Yeah, you can see me here, so I'll talk a bit more. So you can see the town's just dominated by mills and redundant mills. It's got a housing problem. I lived in Ancoats for a long time. It's obvious what they were doing there, converting the mills into hipster apartments. Once they converted them into hipster apartments, they completely regenerated the neighbourhood. There's an indoor football arena to the right of me. You can see just behind. No, it does well. Unfortunately, it's out of the price range of the kids on the street. Because the kids on the street, when we grew up, we used to play on a couple of big green spaces that have been just fenced off and no one can use them anymore. And the old weather pitch at Grange School, which I won't head that way, but it's just derelict and ruined. Someone. If I was in Chatterton or in any of the other sort of hipster areas I spent some of my life in, a local community organisation would have a community asset transfer and would be running that place for the benefit of the community. But not in Oldham. You'd have to pay someone a bribe to be able to do something like that here. This I've come this way because this is pretty much where the streets, I mean these used to be terrace streets back here, but they've gone now. This is pretty much where the Westwood boundary kind of ended, and I'll just get to that now. So this was where Dame Street was, so it's gone. B&M to the right of me. Probably should have done it backwards, and that way the sun wouldn't have been on my back. But we'll see. We'll see what this looks like, and we can do it again if need be. So there's a phone box here. These phone boxes are gone, and this is where the area ended. And this was predominantly what we'd consider to be Chatterton, Busquwalk. And all of these houses were at the time white when we were growing up there, and we would never cross over. And vice versa, to be honest, it was just, boundaries and how it was. But it's changed, you can see it's changed, and all of the houses are now the majority of the houses are now Asian in Busk, and we're moving into the fringe of Coldhurst and moving into North Chatterton, which is what I wanted to talk to you about. So North Chatterton ward is, for those who follow the Recusant Nine Transmissions will know how I have shared my anxiety of how the OBA cartel is expanding from its power base behind me in Coldhurst and moving into North Chatterton. So here we this is the end of Coldhurst, and we're moving towards North Chatterton. So you can see I'll walk this way because my mum lives around the corner from here, so I'll walk past her house. I won't knock on for a cup of tea, it's the middle of Ramadan, but ordinarily I'd have stopped for a brew, and you could all watch her telling me off, saying go and get a real job. So we're on Bamford Street, so this is Bamford Street. Again, you can see, it's not the I currently live up in Mosques. Mosques not the most expensive of places, but what you'll find when you walk around anywhere in Westwood and Coldhurst is this sense of it being run down, of derelict, of rubbish on the street. That sort of stuff is just and no one else is to blame. The people who live in these communities themselves who create the rubbish, you know. But if you sit down and speak to people who want better, they'll tell you the people who live in these spaces, many of them have forgotten, or many of them are just, you know, this is a social housing house behind me. You can see it's just, you know, it's just absolutely So my mum lives just to the right, in the end house to the right over there. And I'll show you the parallel street. I brought my daughter up the other week, and we went to play in this green space, and it's full of syringes and gas canisters. But I just couldn't believe what I saw behind me, and I'll just show it you. These are alley gates. And just look behind. Just look at the crap behind you. It's just unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. I was reading this morning, in fact I posted this morning when I recorded, so this was recorded on Friday morning, I posted this morning of how the council are refusing to give community groups bin liners to clean up their own neighbourhoods. It's just a strange thing. So I'm bringing you up to the next mosque, and I think I shared with you how mosques are important in this journey of understanding the cartels, because they control the community centres, they control the mosques, they control the businesses, and as a consequence they have immense power over the politics of a town. So behind me is the Chatterton, I just call it the Chatterton Central Mosque. It's the local mosque to me. I don't think I'll be welcome there anymore after this video. So what you've got in this central mosque behind me, in this Chatterton Mosque behind me, I'll move along. There's a guy doing some building work. So what you've got in this mosque behind me, Chatterton Central Mosque, is the emergence of the same pattern through which the OBA cartel took over Westwood and Coldest. And they take control of the mosques. And what happens is the chairman of the mosque, or those who control the mosques, become Labour Party politicians. The chairman of the mosque behind me is a guy called Nazrul Islam. Nazrul Islam is the chairman of this mosque, and he is also the Labour Party candidate. And Nazrul is also a businessman with an interesting past. I exposed that past last week. Sean Fielding, the leader of Oldham Council, had tweeted earlier something about, do you know who your candidates are that you're voting for? And you should look at the past. Well, Sean clearly hasn't looked at the past of his own colleagues, because he attended the victory party of Nazrul Islam, and he got caught up in this very dodgy, very dodgy invest £50,000, your money grows on trees, double your money guaranteed, triple your money guaranteed, using FSA numbers and all sorts of things like that that you weren't allowed to use or wasn't supposed to use in the context. And he was exposed nationally. Now what he is the Labour Party candidate and also close friends with Jim McMahon. They actually deselected the existing councillor, Labour Party councillor, to impose Nazrul as a Labour Party candidate. Now, there are reasons why they've done this. One is he's got money. Of course he's got money, and because of the businesses he owns, he has access to votes. But the main thing, the main reason why is the mosques. He who controls the mosques controls a massive block vote. So here is a massive block vote from all of the Muslims in this community, all of the Bangladeshi Muslims in this community go to this mosque here. And what this mosque does is preach in the way these people want them to preach, and the consequence is there's a block vote, postal vote, block postal vote delivered. And there you go. That's what takes place. So it's Garforth Street, I think I'm walking down, so I'll carry on walking down Garforth Street because I want to end up at Chatterton Town Hall, and I'll share a story with you about these streets. You can see a lot of building work going on in these streets, and what's taking place is a lot of the, in the main, the elderly white people who lived in these neighbourhoods who, and once they've died or towards the end of their lives, or the families have had enough and they're ready to move out, because as the Bangladeshi community is overspilt from Oldham and Westwood, they've brought with them traits that many people struggle to accept. And it's not racism, you know. Suddenly your streets becoming filthy and dirty isn't racism, when historically they weren't filthy and dirty and there wasn't litter on the street in the same way. It's not racist at all. But people are, you know, it's an easy excuse to throw at people, isn't it? So let's move along. And you can see what's taking place here. So all of these houses and the people moving out, there's a scam that most of you won't know about. So this is the way the scam works. The cartels have a lot of cash, and they've got to offload that cash. They've got to hide that cash. They've got to use that cash. And one of the ways in which they offload and use that cash is when they're buying these houses up, and when they buy from each other, they undervalue the houses. So the mortgage is at 60,000 or 80,000 because what happens is a brown envelope with another 20 or 30 or 40,000 pounds of cash is handed over. And what that does, it drives down the property prices in an area. So if you bought 3 or 4 houses and you swap them around, you know, makes it look like these houses are only worth 70 or 80,000 pounds, when in reality they're worth 120, 130,000 pounds. And of course the elderly white people who are moving out, or the families who are selling the houses, have no idea this is what's going on. So they're selling the houses based upon the book value, you know, of the estate agent estimates of houses that have sold in the area for similar prices. That's not what happens. So the houses they're selling for 70,000 pounds are really worth 120,000 pounds because 50,000 pounds of cash is being exchanged. You can think I'm making it up if you want, but go and ask people. Go and ask the agent who'll speak to you how much of what I say is a lie. We called that Berries Field when we were little. I don't know why we called it Berries Field. Maybe that was its name. Just to play the odd football match there. So Naz is a North Chatterton Labour Party candidate, and you can see, you know, he's going to win. He's going to win unless everyone votes independent. There's an independent woman. She got 1,000 votes last time, and this time she's if we don't go and vote for her, what'll happen is the Asian bloc vote will deliver Naz the candidacy, and it'll give Jim McMahon another anchor in a community where he can rely on a massive bloc vote to keep him in power. The scam in this town is just a disgraceful. It's corrupt. It's no other way of describing it other than corrupt. And at the heart of the corruption is the Labour Party. And it's been amplified in a way it's never been done. I've never seen it done anywhere else. It's been amplified by a man called Jim McMahon, who attends these mosques and sits in these mosques, knowing full well that him being in that mosque is an endorsement of the chairman in the mosque, who in return hands out his grants and his business contracts and whatnot to people, massive bribes, and in return there's a block vote. And as you saw with the guy earlier on that I was speaking to, he's a millionaire and he daren't speak out. He daren't speak out because of what'll happen. We're passing Chatterton Community Church here. Kind of remnants of what these communities once were. And as the cartels expanded their power base, I speak to my sister, and once my mum's gone, we have no interest in living there or staying there. She stays there because of all of her old friends are still there, and once they're all gone, we'll have we won't be here. The cartels have took over and they're expanding into North Chatterton. You can see, there you go, more building work. The undervaluing of houses, the exchange of cash. That entire black economy, it's rife in the cartel controlled areas. It's a lovely day. That's better. I can see myself better there, so that's better. So I'm heading towards Middleton Road, so the loop will take me to Middleton Road. And I'll walk back up Middleton Road, but I want to stop at the old library and the baths, because I know I've spoke about those venues, so I'll speak about those venues to you with whilst I'm on a stroll. You can see how the area slightly changes as it moves from the Asian sort of areas to where the white people still live. For no other reason than it gets cleaner. There's less litter. So we're walking past Chatterton Town Hall, so I'll go and sit on the grass bit. There's a bench at the front, I remember, so I'll go and sit on the bench at the front, and I'll tell you the next story, and it won't surprise you. It won't surprise any of you. good spot. So I'm sat at the steps of Chatterton Town Hall, and to the right of me is the old Chatterton Old Carnegie Library, and further along there's the old baths, and in the middle is a sort of historical, there's another sort of extension council buildings that were sold off many years ago to an Asian businessman. And the Chatterton Town Hall here is the last sort of relic of what Chatterton was, the Carnegie Library. Remember, I walked past the mosque in Chatterton just a few minutes ago. The chairman of that mosque, Nazrul Islam, was out campaigning with Arooj Shah, the deputy leader of the council, and Jim McMahon's personal assistant. He was out campaigning with Mohan Ali, who's the other North Chatterton councillor, and he was out campaigning with Jim McMahon. All of them are in that infamous photograph. I'll superimpose it over this so you can see it. And in that photograph there was a businessman called Mohibur Rahman. Mohibur Rahman was from a company called CSDA. Now Mohibur Rahman in his past life was the chairman of the youth wing of the OBA Cartel. It was known as the Oldham Bangladeshi Youth Association. So that's who Mohibur Rahman was. And what Mohibur Rahman did was he, through his company CSDA, purchased the old police station round the corner. We'll walk past the Victorian police station round the corner, Chatterton police station. He purchased the Carnegie Library, and he purchased the Victorian baths. And he was out campaigning with Jim McMahon, and he also has been pictured having dinner with Jim McMahon in one of their houses. You know, so it's not dinner in a restaurant or a function. So they're having all dinner together. And what they did with the old Carnegie Library was they made it into an Islamic school, a Muslim school, effectively a Muslim school. That Muslim school was exposed to have failed all basic safeguardings to do with children. It even made a newspaper, the Oldham Cron. But the Oldham Cron, because of who these guys were and who they were connected to, didn't really make a fuss of what had gone on. And it was all hushed over. What Jim McMahon won't tell you is that his council sold the Carnegie Library, the historic Chatterton Carnegie Library, to become essentially a mosque, an Islamic school. And the guy in charge of that Islamic school groomed, sexually exploited not one but two of his students, to the point where his wife kicked him out of the house and he married both of these girls. Now that is a scandal. Yeah, that's right, he married both of them at once. He's living with both of them. He's married both of them. Teenage girls that came to the school, he's groomed and he's married both of them. McMahon and Oldham Council were involved in all of that, and they've helped cover it up. Now the cynic in me thinks if white girls don't matter in areas like Sholver or Fitton Hill or Failsworth, well then here it just shows that equally Asian girls don't matter. What matters is the block vote. What matters is control of the block vote. So that's the Chatterton Library, the Carnegie Library, is some sort of mosque Islamic place where the guy in charge groomed, sexually assaulted, abused, and then married the two girls at once. Nothing to say, have you, Jim? No. The historic baths that were meant to be changed into some form of a training centre, training venue, is now just about to be completed as an Asian wedding hall. Now what you've got to understand about Asian wedding halls is, in the same way I've talked about the houses and how they're sold, the Asian wedding halls all operate on, well, not at all, but all the ones I know operate in a system where 30% has got to be cash. So when you hire a venue for your wedding and say it costs 20 grand, you've got to pay 15 grand through the books or 12 grand through the books, and the rest has got to be in cash. It's how they money launder. It's how the cartels money launder. It's because the cartels money launder, and the starting point is paying modern day slaves in cash below what they're meant to earn. So there's a cash economy that starts with the exploitation of the most vulnerable, who then, go up the ladder, and in the end, if they're buying a house, they've got to pay 30 grand in cash, or they've got to pay 5 grand in cash to get their daughters married. They're trapped. These people are trapped by the cartels. The police know all about this, but Greater Manchester Police are crooked. They're bent. They're involved in all of this. The police officer in charge of all of the things to do with the council, Detective Inspector Kenny Blaine, described himself as the gatekeeper. And when victims took evidence to him, he refused to look at the evidence. He refused to interview the bent politicians. He refused to interview the bent council officers. It's a massive cover-up in this town. So here we are in Chatterton. This is Chatterton Town Hall, and I wanted to sit here where I finished this, because this is essentially the new base of the OBA cartel. So the OBA cartel have expanded from Widdop Street and Featherstall Road, where they started off, and they've expanded to this part of Middleton Road. They've took over the library, they've took over the former swimming baths, they've made it into their own businesses. And Chatterton Town Hall, right behind me, is where Oldham Council, in its wisdom, has provided Jim McMahon with his new base. His new office is no longer in the town centre, but he's moved his office to his power base, which is the OBA. He's moved his office to his power base to support his power base here at Chatterton Town Hall. And the reason why he's done that, and I'll quote it, and I'll cover it, I'll put the picture in, I'll put the film in. He attended a party last year where he was sat there nodding his head in appreciation, where the OBA in Coldust, now expanded into North Chad, provides him with the highest number of votes, which keeps him as an MP. And that's how crooked this town is. The crookedness starts at the top with the MP, his relationship with the OBA and the cartels, his endorsement at worst, or at best his silence to all of the horrific crimes going on. Remember, this is an MP that helped cover up the grooming and gang rape of the town's children. He used the funeral of Lee Rigby to cover that up. It's bent. This town is bent. Let's walk. Yeah, let's walk down. Let me show you the police station. The police station is back up for sale. Other side of £500,000. If you don't know any better, the council won't tell us how much they sold all 3 of the buildings together at a price point. So the baths, the library and the police station was sold as a package. But my guess is that they sold, the guy, once he sells the police station, will make all his money back on what he bought all 3 of the properties for in the first place. So behind me, Chatterton Police Station, you can see it's for sale. Yeah, historic building for sale. Behind me the other way, Carnegie Library, Chatterton Library, sold by the council to become an Islamic centre, where the teacher, the guy in charge, groomed 2 of his kids and married both of them. And the businessman, they sold it to Mr. Mohibur Rahman, as well as being the former chairman of the youth wing of the OBA. He was also in charge of a company called CSDA. The chief executive of CSDA had only 6 months earlier been convicted of serious fraud and some scam involving fake passports and things like that. And yet the council decided to sell at a knockdown price these historic buildings in Chatterton to this man, who is pictured out campaigning with Jim McMahon and pictured having dinner with Jim McMahon in one of their houses. This is a takeover. This is an OBA expansion into Chatterton. When the council sold this building behind us, the Carnegie Library behind us, they sold it claiming that the history and heritage of the building would be preserved. How has it been preserved? By handing it over to a man that opened a school where the head teacher groomed, raped and married his two of his students. Come on, Jim, what have you got to say? Here is the swimming baths. You see the swimming baths behind me? Asian wedding venue. You have Asda to the left of me for people who are wondering where I am. Hundreds of thousands, if not millions, has been spent in refurbishing this building into an Asian wedding venue. Your guess is as good as mine where the money's come from. This appears to be the only parking behind it. It's going to cause chaos for the people around here. But the planning was approved, as these planning decisions are always approved when it involves the cartels. If you want to stop the OBA expansion into Chatterton, because the Asian community will block vote for Naz, the chairman of the Chatterton Mosque, an associate of Jim McMahon. If you want to stop it, you've got to vote, and you've got to turn out and vote for the independent candidate who, Susan I think her name is, Woodward. She got just shy of 1,000 votes last time. If you want to stop it, that's the only way.
There you go. So I spent Friday morning doing that. I had a walk and I played all of it because I didn't want to edit it really, because I wanted to show you how I quite happily parked my car on Widow Street and walked all the way around, because some people do you believe that I will be battered wherever I go and I'm not welcome in these places, and I got a few weird looks. Some of them because I was carrying a camera over than anything else, and others because people know who I am and what I'm up to. But I'm not scared of any of them. Those are the streets where I was raised, and I'll happily wander around them. And for the policy officers in the council, did you see how I didn't need an A to Z to walk around my own town? To the people who claim I don't belong to that space, did you see how I managed to talk about the streets and the neighbours and the people like I knew them? Like I knew the history of the places? That's because I'm from those places. Idiots. Okay, I hope you found that useful. There's only one way. There's only one way to get rid of them, and that is to vote for the independent candidate. I'm going to be joined now by Paul, and let me get him on. Guest one. Paul, how you doing?
Hi, good evening. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Raju.
Good evening. Paul, just shimmy back a bit, mate. You're a bit closer. That's better. Paul,
There you go. How's that?
We'll move on. Yeah, so you saw that, me touring around Westwood and Chatterton. So those are the places where I grew up. You'll have to turn your YouTube off, Paul. You can't have YouTube on. It's got to be your.
No.
It's got to just be the link you joined on.
Very good. Right.
Okay.
It's all right.
That's fine. All right. Go on.
Excellent.
So, Paul.
Yes.
Talk away. What do you want to talk about, mate? You tell me. You go for it. Sorry, mate. I'm still picking up an echo. So before you start, let's try and get this right. I'm echoing through on your end. So have you got anything running? Is anything?
No, telly's off. Got nothing on here. Got nothing on my phone. Yeah, everything's all clear.
Okay. All right, fine. Let's go for it. Right,
Okay.
Paul, you were miffed, rightly so, with there was a council review, wasn't there, this week for Save Our Valleys Festival? Yeah, let's talk about that.
There was, yeah. So there was
Go on.
Sorry, yeah. So there was a council planning committee meeting on Wednesday. The Nose Lane development was on first, and the basic crux was that despite lots of documents still not being available to the public in order to make a final decision on their approval or objection, the vote was, despite the fact that councillors tried to defer the vote in order to ensure that the public had full consultation and they could see all the information before they made their judgment, including the fact that there's the ancient woodland that has been notified and needs to be weighed up in terms of a new environment impact assessment, etc. The vote was approved, and that was initially the approval was set up by Clint Pythian, who made an absolute mockery of the first July extraordinary planning meeting. He's the person who decided eventually that there was a unanimous decision in favour of the approval in July of 2019. And then that was seconded like a bullet by Mr. Pete Davis, who the only thing I can say about that was he was consistent in his approach, because he couldn't wait to approve it back in July 2019. So he's clearly desperate for those these valleys to be turned over into 265 houses. So the deferral was not successful. The approval went through. It went through. Seven Labour councillors voted it through. 1 abstention and 4 against. So that's that. And a lot of the councillors, including Elizabeth Jacks, who's up again this year, she's been involved in the return of Greenland back in where she is. So she's all for a green, saving green space. She couldn't wait as well to go for it. So when it's not it's not in your backyard. It's clearly something that you really want to destroy. Then again, though, we do have the eco sense, so that's something that we can look forward to.
So my thing when I saw that, because I know Jane Barker, who did all the woodland, the ancient woodland research and stuff, and she spoke passionately, and then a lot of people were upset at the end of it. You know what, Paul? I don't mean it condescending, but what did you lot think was going to happen? Since when was this bent council going to behave anything other than being bent?
Well, I mean, yeah. Speaking personally, when we lost the judicial review, it was then there wasn't really much we could then tailor make, because we'd lost the major argument, the thing that was the principle of the development in the first place. Now the development will now happen. It's all the discussion on Wednesday was you can't talk about the past. It's been approved. You need to talk about amendments to the planning. And that, fair enough, was what's going on.
But what's gone on is ancient woodland. Let's be clear here. Ancient woodland in this town is going to be destroyed because the Labour Party-run council want to build houses to raise income for council tax. That's what this essentially is about, yeah? High-income houses, high rates of council tax to subsidise a council that is at risk of bankruptcy. And that's not me saying it, it's their own auditors saying it.
Well, yeah. But fear not, because all is good, because for every ancient tree that they destroy, they will replant 4 in its place.
What,
so
4 ancient ones? 4 ancient ones, or?
So for every 1 ancient one that they chop down, they will replace with 4 saplings.
Word.
So then we've only got the joy of waiting 400 years to enjoy that ancient woodland once again.
And where they going to replant those?
Well, exactly. They'll put it in the middle of the road, presumably, because if you make all that space and you carve a track right through it, where are you going to plant them? But then, George Hume's got a plan. He's the tree champion. That's what he said to me. Well, then again, he did say 3-1 when I asked him before he blocked me 2 years ago.
Nah, they're just making things up, mate. So,
yes.
so we've lost another massive bit of green space in this town, and there's developments on Fox Denton as well, where the council are one of the partners in the development, and I suppose that went through as well in the same style.
Yeah. Well, it seems that the 2 people who were desperate to approve it without actually making any contribution to the debate then couldn't help themselves but to contribute discussing houses of mass occupancy in Shaw, etc. And it's like, well, you've clearly got opinions then of certain matters, but for this, it's an open and shut case. Don't worry about it. The 400 or so, 500 objections that have been going on over the 2 planning meetings, all those thoughts and concerns of those people don't count in this matter. It's just sad to see, and it's just, again, it just shows the failure of the council to this community.
And my thing with this, Paul, it's really straightforward, I think, is that we cannot stop anything this council is doing until we have our people in the council.
Yes.
Because these councillors, as you've just, shared your experiences, have no interest in standing up for the people or the communities in this town.
No. And they've got no interest either in just reflecting on the borough as a whole. And the argument of not in my backyard is true in their case, because if something was to sprout up in the middle of Failsworth, you'll have. Well,
they blocked it, didn't they? They blocked the development in wood houses, didn't they? They blocked it.
Yeah, of course they have. Yes, they have, and that's because it is in his backyard. But he's quite happy if it's somewhere else that doesn't affect him. Now, proud of Oldham Sadworth and myself would fight for all the green spaces. I don't care whose backyard it is. It just needs to just stop. Prioritise brownfield. I couldn't give a monkeys about developers not being interested. It's like, well, that's all there is. So you make the best of it, get on with it, and the green space would be a last resort in about 100 years' time, I'm afraid.
Well, I think it's just common sense to anyone who understands our town and cares about our town. We have loads of brownfield sites.
Yeah.
We have sites where housing market renewal was paused after we demolished lots of houses, massive chunks of Durka, massive chunks of coal dust, Chatworth, and nothing, absolutely nothing has been built there or planned to be built there. But they're desperate to build in the green spaces. Now, the building in the green spaces, Paul, it's really, really straightforward. It's just about income generation. They're desperate for money. They're desperate because they can't afford to pay the millions that they're paying on pensions to their executives that they've hired. They can't afford to keep things going, so they need more money.
Yeah. It needs a complete overhaul. It needs people who are impartial, like myself, who's got no self-interest, to look into what's going on. Hopefully not getting assassinated in the process, but looking at what's happening and say, this isn't right. This whole process does not reflect well. It's a well-known figure, but the fact that £8 million a month is spent outside the borough, possibly more now, bearing in mind all the lockdown procedures and the things that are going on there. There is lockdown money that's going around, and that's probably pushing that on. And I think people are, I won't call it racketeering, but they're certainly benefiting from the COVID. And I can't say it's the people of Saddleworth, Western Leeds, and I can't say it's all the other wards.
No, this isn't really about. I think the journey we've all gone on together. I think it's clear. This isn't about black people or Asian people benefiting over white people, or vice versa, or one rural area over an inner town area. This is about Labour Party politics to do with where they can get the vote most effectively, and and it's that's what the underlying factor here is. It's not about race. It's not about rural versus urban. It is about where they can get the block votes from. Yeah, and where they can make the most money from. Unfortunately, Paul.
I spoke to a member of the public today, and she said that if she could afford it, she would leave Oldham. She would leave Oldham. She's been here effectively all her life, and she would move out of Oldham because of what's happening. And I says, well, I feel really sorry for that, but all I can do is try and challenge the things that are happening. We're talking about
how's the campaign going? Because I've seen you out every day, on Facebook and stuff. So you're campaigning like really, really hard. You're working really hard. How's that going? How has it been received?
Oh, it's been fantastic. I've had a really positive response to everybody. Even the sun's come out, which is if you look at the badge of Proud Old Saddleworth, somebody actually said to me to say, "Are you saying that it's sunny every day in Oldham?" And I went, "Oh yeah, look at we've got blue sky and we've got the sun out." So yes, even that's true. But yeah, the response I've had from the public has been fantastic. I don't know if people are aware. I don't know if you're aware, but I do. When I'm on my own, I do have posters on a stick that comes out of a rucksack on my back.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen the pictures. Yeah.
Just say if you see me, give me a beep, give me a wave, or come and say hello. So I find that, and what I did on Tuesday night, I walked from the bottom end of Groton all the way up to the top of Springhead. So I've literally done the whole of the ward in one night, and I'll be doing it all this week and next week as well. So I want everyone to keep their eye out, look out for me, and come say hello.
No,
even
brilliant.
in darkness.
No, and you've got just over a week left, and you're working out, and this is how you win elections. You don't win elections on social media, mate. You win elections by going out there, looking at people in the eye, and saying, "Vote for me. This is who I am. This is what I believe in, and let me serve you." And that's what you and all the Proud of guys are doing. I'm seeing you all do, and I'm really proud of you, because I'm looking at all of you and thinking, win or lose, you've given it everything, and the town can't. The town owes all of you, because and you're not doing it for yourselves. You're obviously not doing it yourselves. You're doing it because you care.
Yeah. So on the subject of looking people in the eye, I did have quite a difficult conversation on Thursday, which I had to arrange for myself. Excuse me. I had to arrange this meeting because over the last at least 12 to 18 months, the involvement that me and my wife have had with Save Our Valleys in terms of saving the Knowles Lane development and the valleys of Ashbrook and Thornley Brook, we once we got on the road to the judicial review, and once I got to the point where I said I was going to stand as a councillor for South Western Leeds, things started to get a little bit frosty.
So this is the Save Our Valleys lot, yeah? So a lot of these are historical Lib Dem type people, aren't they? So that's what a lot of these are politically.
Well, Save Our Valleys is a non-political organisation, and I 100% agree with that. It is a non-political organisation. I felt a little bit stuck because political opponents were using it for their benefit by saying, we support this, and it was like, well, fair enough. Yes, you support it. However, you've not actually participated.
Well, let's be honest. Let's call it for what it is. You're a polite man, so I'll do it. Sam Al-Hamdani has benefited hugely. I've seen him post repeatedly about Save Our Valleys, and the Lib Dems have posted repeatedly about Save Our Valleys.
They have, including and the Conservatives. Labour daren't do it because they caused the problem in the first place. So it would be like, right, you can't be that cheeky. So I had I'd call it, I won't call it a difficult discussion, but we did have a meeting where, you know, I wanted to resolve the frostiness and say, right, well, you know, I may be standing for proud of Oldham Saddleworth, but I am still concerned and prepared to fight for the Knowles Lane development. Nothing's changed. And if you think I'm using it as a political platform, that situation has only come because I have worked extremely hard over the last 4 years, 18 months in particular, to help raise the money, to be a main signatory on the account, keep it going, fighting fraudulent activity on the account, on a public account as well. That was very difficult, having to get in touch with the bank all the time. So there's a lot of things I've been doing as a team, the committee. We've all done our separate things as a team to collectively lead us to that judicial review, which was unprecedented in its way, and we only lost it marginally. However, to be frozen out just because I have chosen to be or want to be a councillor, to be inside, to actually continue to fight for the development of other green spaces, to me seems logical. I can only be in there to fight for the team if I'm inside the council.
What's happened, Paul, is a clear demonstration that from fighting from the outside in, you're fighting with one hand or both hands tied behind your back against a system that wants to build on a green belt. So the only way we can stop the building on a green belt is electing our own councillors who'll fight inside the council for it.
Yes, to challenge.
Yeah.
Now I thought that would be a good thing for the team, for the committee team of Save Our Valley. So we finished that discussion. I thought we'd cleared the air. I was going to write because their main issue was that people were approaching them saying you're part of Proud of Oldham Saddleworth, of which has never been the case. It's never been the case at all. So I was prepared to write a statement off my own back just to say, as a candidate for South Western Leeds, we are not affiliated with SOV. And the day after I was about to post it, and I realised that it had been blocked. So I am now no longer part of Save Our Valleys, it would appear.
And they've done it in a snidey, sneaky, behind your way, backstabbing way. So 4 years you've helped these people, you, your wife, or the other, and sorry, Paul Errock stuff has just come up next to me. You know, the guy behind Proud of Oldham and Saddleworth. All of you have worked tirelessly for Save Our Valleys, and they've kind of ostracised you because you want to serve. And you know why they've ostracised you. It's not because you're an unreasonable man. It's not because you're anything like, you're a criminal or any of those things. They've ostracised you because their political allegiances are Labour or Lib Dem. It's one or the other, and it's always the same. In Oldham, it makes no difference whether you're a member of the Labour Party or a member of the Lib Dem. You're in it together. Those two, hand in hand. Those two parties operate hand in hand.
So my very, because I said, right, my very words were, I'm a reasonable man. If you had a problem with what we were doing, all you had to do was just say, and then we would change, we would do whatever. It's like, I just can't, I'm one of these people who can't be doing with people who make perceptions in the background and they get the wrong opinion. So it's like, just tell me straight. I'm a reasonable person. I won't start crying.
But this isn't about you, mate. This isn't about you. Well, this is about them. Yeah, because you're a decent bloke, you're thinking, what have I done wrong or what could I have done differently? There is nothing you could have done differently, and there's nothing you've done wrong, right? What these people are is they are Labour Party minions, Liberal Democrat minions. They're all NIMBYs who are happy to fight for it, not in their backyard, but aren't willing to fight for against the building, on Greenbelt across the town. And that's why this town is in a mess. Unfortunately, the opposition for too long has only been concerned on their little green space or their little community. And it's moving up to this part of the world, and from the part of the world I'm from, and like in the video before, we used to laugh at the people in Saddleworth because it was always, they only care about Saddleworth. They don't care about the rest of us. Yeah. And what you've now got is you're a member of a political movement that's proud of the entire town, Oldham and Saddleworth and all the other towns that, that make up this borough. And they hate it because you're bringing people together. They can't divide people because they exist in a space where they can divide people.
Yeah. So that's where we are. So I continue. I am stronger, and I fight, and I won't be put off by non-political people who behave in a very political way.
They're not non-political. The Labour Party supporters or the Liberal Democrat supporters. That's what they are.
Yeah.
You're better off without them. You're better off without them.
Well, yeah, I called people out and said, right, you need to resolve this. You block me. It's silly. It's childish, and I've got no response. So it's like, right, okay, that's your issue. I'm too big and strong now. I can't be doing with your childishness. Yeah, we shall fight for Knowles Lane in a different way without you. Yeah, and ultimately, yes, you don't own the rights to fight for green space or Knowles Lane development or save our valleys. We all own that right. Because it's a community, it's not just yours.
Disgraceful, mate. Absolutely. You're better off without them. Tell me, mate, you've got 9 days. How are you feeling? You got plenty of people, because yours is an wide open thing. The Labour Party guy got kicked out. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The Lib Dems, the Labour Party replacement. The Labour Party replacement was exposed for being part of the grooming gang cover-up.
Mm-hmm.
So and then he ran away.
Yeah. So I'm feeling really positive. I've got posters appearing everywhere. Probably, my exposure, forgive me for saying, is paramount at the moment. A lot of people are bending over backwards saying, it makes a change. Somebody who actually cares. And I've actually
my daughter recognised you. My daughter, because I drive through Leeds on the way to my house, and there's your posters all the way up along, and so my daughter recognises you.
Very good. That's fantastic. That's really good. And I actually said to somebody, I think, whilst I was it's probably about 9:30 in the darkness of Tuesday night with my stick, walking up Cooper Street. I met somebody who hasn't voted since he was 18, and he actually said to me, he says like, "Oh, very good. Yes, I think I will vote for you. You sound like a good prospect, someone to vote for." And I went, "Yes, thank you very much." And I said, if I choose, because I'm one of the only candidates, I am the only candidate who lives in the actual ward. I said, if I fail you and everybody else as a councillor, then I'm failing myself because I live here. So I want the best for you and I want the best for me. Simple.
Yeah.
No one can say that if they don't live here. If you live in Royton, you can't look after South Western Leeds. It's not possible.
No, I don't think it is at all, mate. I don't think you got any competition really. I know the Lib Dems are touting their candidate. Labour Party are trying their best. It's the one I look at it, and it's no disrespect to the other proud of Oldham and Saddleworth candidates, but it's the one I think where you've had a long lead in, and you've been working tirelessly, and you've been working tirelessly on behalf of the community before you did it in a political way, and people can judge you by your service for the last 3 or 4 years. You've not just rocked up and said, "I fancy being a councillor." You've been forced into a position where the reality is you have to become a councillor to be able to serve the people you've been serving.
Yeah.
No,
it's like a life of service to my community. I
think you've done well, and I think I have every confidence that that the people of your ward or the people of Leeds will turn out and vote for what people can clearly see is a very decent man. And don't worry about the Save Our Valley people. There's some these relationships in life, and I'm just reflecting on my own. People I was close to stabbed me in the back and left me, when it suited them. And these are people I'd known. Some of them I'd known for 20 years, 30 years at a time. And it doesn't matter, mate. You learn. You're stronger because of it. And it's a lesson. Every day's a lesson. And you keep turning up and you keep fighting for the things you believe in. And people can see you doing that. There's nothing these people can do to harm you. You're on the streets every day. You're facing your critics. You're facing your supporters. And you're saying, ask me whatever you want to ask me. I don't see the Labour Party politicians doing that.
No, and that's one of the things I will always say to people. Look, one of the major things I've said to people is, I will never promise anything to you because promises are easily broken. I will honestly tell you what I'll try to do, and if I can't do it, I'll tell you it's not possible at the moment, or it is just not possible. But I will always I'll tell the truth, because there's no point bleating on saying I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do the other. If I can't do it, I can't do it. You've got to take my word for that. And the things that I think somebody said to me, I made a lot of comments about crime in the area, antisocial behaviour, and they said the things that you're coming out with sounds like you're going to turn water into wine. There's no possible way you can do all this stuff. And I went, yeah, there is. It's quite easy to do, and I can't believe nobody's ever done it. The simple concepts of getting more police on the street, it can be done. And I will try and do it because I believe it can be done.
Well, all of this can be done. We can clean up our streets. We can make our neighbourhoods safer. We can provide services to our young people. It's just about priorities of where we decide to spend our money. At this moment in time, Oldham Council want to spend, and you mentioned it, this eco centre in Glodick. They want to spend over £100 million on it. They've just spent £12 million or more buying spindles. They've been forced to admit it's going to cost them the best part of £70 million to redevelop it to what they want it to be like. And now it's just emerged, now it's just emerged that they don't even own the leases inside. So God knows how many more tens of millions that's gonna cost.
It's just ridiculous. It's just your basic finances. You just need to put your basic home finances into the council, and that is, you don't generally go on to it. If you haven't got the money, you can't afford it, you can't have it. That's generally the rule of, and that's what should be done. Oldham Council can't afford it, so therefore they can't have it. Put the money towards regular bins, put the money towards mental health, put the money towards social care, put the money to where it's missing, and stop going on that we're in the doldrums. We're not really. You just mismanagement of spending.
It's the mismanagement
to the
of
wrong
spending.
people.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, you'll have seen it. I mean, whilst I've got you on, you'll have seen it as well. So I'll just get your thoughts on it. I mean, there's 2 points I want to raise about the cleaning of the streets and the bins, and it is important. People think it's not important, or the politicians think it's not important, the council officers think it's not important. But the people who live in a community, the cleanliness of the streets around them is one of the most important things, there is.
Yes.
And what they did, I think you'll have seen it. These neighbourhood action groups are going out there and cleaning their own streets, and they've reached out to the council for help with providing them with litter bins, bin liners, mate, bin liners, and the council are refusing to give them bin liners.
Yeah. So it's the Groton residents, they annually do a spring clean. Back in the past, the council used to provide a massive skip free of charge, and then they pick it up. That's now you have to pay for that. Now, if they were to get the house in order and have a proper environmental waste system that was not profitable, but was managed financially better, we could have. It's not unreasonable to demand that we have a weekly bin collection. We have a free delivery service where fridges and large appliances are taken away, and therefore you're going to. It seems pie in the sky, but this will actually stop people doing fly tipping. And then to start charging people who dares to go to a tip just because they look like they're a commercial company. This is not, back in the day, this is not how they used to do it. if you want your stuff going, people should be paid to take it away. If you want your stuff going, people should be paid to take it away, i.e. council staff who are not on 0-hour contracts. We're talking about people who've got a wage. There's plenty of people out there who want a job, need a job, want to work, and they can't do because there's no availability, because there's no funds to take them on. Well, there is funds.
There are funds. There are funds.
Yes, there are funds.
They've spent over £100,000 on those 2 press officers, you know?
Exactly. The funds are there. The funds are there. And it's a simple thing. A simple thing about litter. I know it's like you say, and dog fouling, etc. like that. It's a simple thing, but in terms of the needs of people's lives and everyday existence, to see a clean street and to just have it's clearness of mind, peace of mind.
You saw the video that I showed earlier, and I went past my mum's house, and it was opposite hers. My mum's house is spotless, her garden spotless, but the street up, the parallel houses, and the gully we're behind, the back alleys behind, filthy, rat infested, filthy, and you know what's happened, Paul? When people behave, treated like animals, and they behave like animals, they forget what it was like to have clean streets, to be, and how they felt. And we've got to retrain entire communities into that space. And the council has a responsibility in leading that. And when I heard a senior council officer issue a statement in utter contempt to a local resident who asked for bin liners. Yeah. It's just like I'm looking at this thinking, has this woman really just said that?
Yeah. It's just ridiculous. It really is. I mean, we shouldn't be doing. It seems perverse to me to see councillors and candidates walking the streets picking up rubbish. Especially a councillor, I would say to that councillor, if you're picking up rubbish, have you now failed on the whole challenge of the environmental waste system now? Because for you to be picking up rubbish, that means you've given up, because you're doing it on behalf of the council that should be doing it. You should be getting to the root of why is this not happening?
Low level politics. It's so it's trash politics, because what's going on here, Paul, is a councillor's job is not to go and get a bin line and pick up the rubbish. A councillor's job is to make sure that the systems and processes are working effectively, and when they're not, is to go into the town hall, grab hold of the chief executive. Oh, you can't do that in Oldham because the chief executive isn't here. She's away 4 days a week, and she doesn't work the 5th day a week here. And they've allowed this. They've allowed this to happen. It's like pointing at potholes. I don't want my councillor to point at potholes. I want them bloody fixed.
Well, I know where they are, because there's a candidate stood next to each one. They're there all night, they're all just stood there.
No,
there's one there.
But that's what's become, isn't it? The level of political leadership in this town has been, de-skilled, and now you've got muppets. And sorry, no, I mean this, muppets who are councillors, because it means those who really control the town can continue as they are. This isn't accidental that you've got this level of councillor across the town. You talked about that Pythian lad. His son now wants to be a councillor in Hollingwood. Yeah.
Well, I think we've touched on this in the past weeks. There is no... all credit to the lad. I don't know him, but he has no life experience. I'm approaching 48 years old. I've got 25 years of employment in NHS, 5 years as a policeman. These are life experiences that give me now the confidence to say, yes, I can serve my community this way because I've got life experience. I've got the confidence to stand up to these people to say, what are you doing? What are you doing to these people? Why are you doing it? I can't see somebody with a limited life experience being able to do that.
Well, his intention isn't to do that. His intention is to join that ladder, that political ladder, and climb as far high up it as he can. If you look around you, all you talk about and all the other Proud of Oldham and Saddleworth guys and the independent guys I speak to, and like young women who I speak to as well. All you folk talk about. I mean, I bumped into Amoy the other day. I was just driving through Dirk and I saw a smiling face and I stopped to say hello. Now, all you lot talk about is how you can serve your community. You speak to these Labour Party councillors or the Sam Al-Hamdanis from the Lib Dem. What they want to do is climb the political ladder. They want that role in Andy Burnham's team. They want that role on the national executive. They want that role so they can become MPs. That's what they want. These guys, they want to climb that political ladder. You're not a national party. You're not even an ultra local or whatever that Charlotte Green called you at. All you care about is the communities you live in, and you want to make a difference for them, and you want to benefit the town.
Yep, it's a simple philosophy, but it just might work. Goodness me. I wish the best of luck to all my fellow candidates in Proud of Oldham Saddleworth, and I hope we all do a fantastic showing. I think we've all worked really hard.
I think you have done the town proud. All of you have done that, and you've behaved with dignity. I look around, you've not got involved in any of the name calling or any of that sort of stuff. I look at the Fails of Independence. I think I played the video or the sound last week that Brian Hoban did after that the horrible campaign led by Sean Fielding against some of those in Failsworth, and how dignified Brian Hoban was. I'm listening to you now and how dignified you are. I listen to Paul Eric all the time when he comes on, and how dignified and reserved, and how well you come across. It's the sort of politicians I want, mate. You're the sort of politicians I want for this town. People who care, people who are passionate, but also hand in hand with that, people who are respectful.
Oh yeah, I mean, full respect for the community. I mean, there's a very important point from saying that we've all been working hard as well is the fact that that hard work will not stop. Should we be elected, it's just the beginning. We'll be a visible presence in every ward, constantly fighting. And I've said to people who've asked me to look at issues in the area, it says, if I'm not elected, I'll still try and help you and still try and sort it out.
And that's the thing. You're not going away. You're not going anywhere, are you? None of you are going anywhere.
No, I live here, so I want to make it the best. If I'm elected or not, I'll still be active. I'll still be a thorn in the side as much as I can. And I'm still determined to get this play area in Springhead that they've been after for 20 years. I'm gonna try and get that for them.
They've got money, mate. The council's got money. It's where they choose to spend the money. Yeah.
I know they have. I've just got to get my hands on it and pass it on.
Yeah, anyway, we'll work on that together. Thanks, Paul. Thanks for taking the time out, and I'll
no problem.
And I'll speak to you before election, no doubt. And what I plan on doing is an election night thing where I'll probably have, because the election this time it's not in one place, is it? Tell people a bit more about the election.
I do believe is it? I've just got it to hand now, just to see where it is. I think my trusty assistant is about to pass me my very own Debbie McGee's here.
Oh, I saw her earlier. She came in with a lovely daughter, and I think I put my foot in it by agreeing with your stepdaughter. Yeah, so that was entertaining.
She's a big fan now, Roger. She's a big fan.
Well, you know what I miss, Sarah, and you could see that. My eyes lit up when I saw a young person, yeah? And you can see
Absolutely.
that. And I spent my life working with young people, and I can't wait to get back to work with young people. I know what I'm good at. And, I'm doing this because I have to, not because I want to, I want to work with kids, yeah?
She's took a shine to you, and she thinks you're wonderful because you've said that she should, all the things about school.
Yeah.
So...
No, she's a lovely kid. Yeah. I enjoyed meeting her. She's a lovely kid. Come on, mate. Where are we? Because it's not in one place. It's not at the Civic Centre, is it? In one place like it was.
No, it isn't. But this isn't clear. Hang on. So we've got the Queen Elizabeth Hall. So this is where's Queen Elizabeth Hall?
So these are the votes. So all the counting will be in different areas.
Right.
So in the Queen Elizabeth Hall, the counts for Chatterton North, Chatterton South, Chatterton Central, Failsworth East, Failsworth West, and Hollingwood.
Yes.
Then The Failsworth Suite will be St Mary's and Coldhurst. The council chamber for Waterhead and St James.
Hold on, just go back. So they've created, they've given 4 or 5 wards at the Queen Elizabeth Hall, and at the Failsworth Suite is just St Mary's and Coldhurst.
Yes. So
that's Glodick and Westwood. Yeah, so it's just the Cartel places are being counted together. Yeah.
Yeah, it gets better, Roger. It gets better.
Go on.
So we've got then the Oldham Leisure Centre. Oh yeah, Lee Suite for Alexandra.
So Alexandra is separate.
Yeah. And then we've got the Oldham Leisure Centre, and that covers Shaw, Crompton, Saddleworth North, Saddleworth South, Saddleworth Western Lees, Royton North, and Royton South.
What does that tell you about the town? What does that tell you about the town?
Yeah, but Wearmouth.
Yeah.
Wearmouth is in the level 4 meeting area, and Medlock Vale is in Access Oldham.
Right.
It's very tactical.
Yeah. So all the cartel spaces have been divided, haven't they? Do you see what they've done? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh my! You know, before I came along, and it was hard to believe, isn't it? This cartel thing and what's going on. Until it's been evidenced and demonstrated the way I have, it's just hard to believe it exists.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. But everything is manipulated in its favour.
Yeah.
Like to make it all look nice and pretty and all nice and separate and clean and tidy and transparent and open, if you will.
Ridiculous. The Lib Labs are together.
Yeah.
All they are, aren't they? I mean that's very clear over the last 18 months when Sean Fielding spat his dummy out at the Tories and issued a statement saying we had an agreement. You know, we had an agreement.
Well.
Yeah, well, it's quite evident that the Libs are helping the Labs with this election.
If we get in at any point, and we can't win this time, but we can win some seats, it absolutely destroys them because, you know, it's not just one getting in, it emboldens an entire town because it shows that, hold on, these guys have been abused, they've been insulted, they tried to have them sacked, they tried to have the family members sacked, they've called them far right, they've called them child abusers, they've called them criminals, and still they've behaved with dignity and not got involved in the horribleness of politics that people thought they perhaps would do and would have been justified for doing, but you didn't do. Look at you. You're still not calling any of these people, you're just behaving in a very, very sincere manner, and I'm sure it's coming across. The
only campaign I'm bothered about is my own and what I can do for the community, and that's what I'm telling everybody. I'm not fussed about what my opponents are doing to lead up to May the 6th. All I can do is invest. This, ultimately, I've said this before, I think I said this to the Save Our Valleys crew, I said, whatever I've said in my life experience to say, this is what I did for Save Our Valleys. This is what, is a statement of fact that I've done. To me, this is a job interview. And a job interview, you don't weaken your points. You elaborate and you make them strong.
And you champion yourself. You don't attack someone else.
Yeah, I'm not going to be shy about talking about my success. I'm going to make the most of it. Yeah, and I'm not going to use a spin. I could spin anything. I could say working for the NHS for 25 years I'm using that as a political platform. Well, I can do or I cannot, but it's a fact that I worked in the NHS for 25 years. Life experience.
No, listen, mate. They struggle with people like us because we can't be manipulated so easily, and we are confident and articulate and resolute enough to look at something and say, this isn't right.
Yeah.
We can't carry on like this. This isn't right. Not one of them are saying it. I didn't. Not one. I read something. I mean, I'll bring it up on my screen. But I read something about Sean Fielding going on about We have policies. The Labour Party's got policies. What are the other people's policies? Listen, mate, you can have all the policies you want. You've never done anything sincere and worthwhile for the town. Just because it comes out of your mouth doesn't make it true.
Yeah, quite right.
Nothing comes out of his mouth is true.
Well,
no.
Action was.
Hey, have you got the song yet? Come on, you must have spent 79 pence and put it on your ring, on your ring, on your phone or something.
Yeah, got it.
Brilliant.
I love it. We know all the words. It's great.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Right, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to do an election night special before, and I've got a cartel thing just before. But listen, if you need me for anything, I'm more than happy to. But I think we're on the cusp of something, and I think people like you, the bravery you've shown, and the others have shown, is the reason why we're on the cusp of something. At some point, you've got to put up, haven't you? You know, you've got to put up or shut up, and you've rolled your sleeves up and said, "No, I'm going to do something about this."
Yeah.
Brilliant, mate. Grateful. Anything else before I let you go? Anything else?
No, that's it, really.
No. What's our politician? Vote. Come on.
Oh, yeah. No, not for me. I know. Yeah, no, vote for me. Vote for me. Vote for me.
Yeah.
Vote for him. Vote for me.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Also, don't forget the name.
Look out for the car next week. We'll be driving round Saddleworth Western Lees in the car, covered in posters, going quite slow, probably annoying people. Yeah. But we will be very visible in the week running up to the election.
I'm still not sure about them posters that you want in front of the steering wheel, but we'll get around that. We'll get around that. I'll just cut 2 little circles where my face is and just see if we can see. I'm sure I'll be fine.
I'll be driving. You can be walking behind or in front.
Yeah.
Guys.
What, with my stick? With my stick?
Yeah.
Right.
I think I gave you Sarah your tea, unless she's kept it for herself as well.
Oh yes, yes.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was very nice.
Did you have it? Have you had it already?
Yeah, we had it before.
We just had it before we came on. It was absolutely delicious.
No,
everybody, please.
Someone put up. I've lost weight on that video earlier, and I don't know who put it up. It says, "Raji, you look like you've lost weight." I'm like thinking, I've not been so well fed as I have in the last 2 months as I have in my entire life.
I think everybody should get Jasor Road. It's absolutely delicious. Best food I've tasted in a long time.
Oh, the food's
delicious.
Good. Yeah. Moya has got me on slave labour, by the way. You know.
Has he?
Right, yeah.
I'm gutted I missed him. I'm really gutted I missed him today. Yeah. It was lovely to see you.
No. Listen, you know where I am? I've got one last show next week where I'm going to go through all the wards and give my spin on who I think is who, what, and whatnot. And I'll go through your opposition candidates as well next week. But I think you've got this, mate. You've got this. You're the candidate for me here. All right. Best of luck. Speak to you both soon.
Thanks, Roger. See you later.
See you soon, Roger.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Goodbye, everybody.
Paul Shilton standing in Saddleworth Western Lees. Vote for him. Proud of Oldham and Saddleworth. Vote for him. If you live in that ward, vote for him. One of the most decent men I've had the pleasure of meeting since I began this journey with you guys on this Recusant 9 platform. Okay, I'm going to just go and get a drink, I think, before I carry on. I've got a few more things to share with you if you've got the time. Please buy me a coffee, buymeacoffee.com/Recusant9. It's the only way I keep going. So I'm grateful to people who do buy me a coffee. If you haven't, like the page, providing you've enjoyed what we've gone through so far tonight, and follow the YouTube channel. Just subscribe to the channel. It's free. Click on the like, and just give me a minute whilst I come back with a drink. I've not properly broken my fast yet, so just give me a minute, and I will leave you with this.
I'll say their face lies. I'll say their face lies. I'll say their face lies. Again. Their face lies. I'll say their face lies. I'll say their face lies. I'll say their face lies. Again.
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. You can point where it's all gonna end, yeah. You can do it all, we're gonna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shooting old, overgrown, postal phone, bare face lies.
barefaced lies, barefaced lies.
Hey Sean, you got a party, got that little party going on there. Keep to the left, you can't think right, so everything you do goes wrong, yeah. Incompetence just leads to disaster. Corruption brings it on even faster. What you say?
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda, and it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah? Do you think we ever wanna defend, yeah? Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit and cold, overgrown, postal phony, barefaced. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda, and it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah? Do you think we ever wanna defend, yeah? Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit and cold, overgrown, postal phony, barefaced.
Barefaced lies.
Time waits, you always told us you'd build us all a new Jerusalem, yeah. You talk the talk, but when you walk, you only leave a crooked line there. And you don't see the trouble that's brewing if all you do is just what you're doing.
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda, and it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah? Do you think we ever wanna defend, yeah? Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit cold, overgrown, postal phony, barefaced lies. Is this where you wanna be? Debts and childhood poverty. Oh, somebody set us free from this corrupt kleptocracy. Oh yeah.
Barefaced lies.
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda, and it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah? Do you think we ever wanna defend, yeah? Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit cold, overgrown, postal phony, barefaced. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda, and it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah? Do you think we ever wanna defend, yeah? Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit cold, overgrown, postal phony, barefaced. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda, and it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah? Do you think we ever wanna defend, yeah? Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit cold, overgrown, postal phony, barefaced. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda, and it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah? Do you think we ever wanna defend, yeah? Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit cold, overgrown, postal phony, barefaced.
Okay, so I'm not getting tired of that at all. I'm not getting tired of that at all. Have I finished? Have I? I said I was just going to go and get a drink because I'd not broken my fast properly. No, I don't actually eat a lot. It's the absence of coffee I struggle with, really. Right, let me bring this up very quick, but I want to get it out of the way because I want to draw a line in the sand with some of this stuff. You've seen this idiot. We know all about this idiot. Sean Fielding confirms his relationship with it. Apparently, he emailed me some questions and I answered them as I do with all journalist inquiries. That's not how the council operates. The council has communication officers, as do the council leaders, and you don't, that's not what. And of course, the obvious question is, what did he ask you and what did he say? Because we all suspect, many of us suspect, that Sean Fielding has been feeding Wilby information to launch his attacks on various people, including myself. So that's Sean Fielding admitting his relationship with Neil Wilby. Neil Wilby, I've reported him to the police. I'm still waiting. In fact, the police phoned me, and you'll laugh at this. They gave me a missed call at 10:30 or something the other night, and I phoned them in the morning. And after I'd phoned them in the morning, someone was meant to phone me back, and they haven't done. But we're ordinary citizens, aren't we? So when we're ordinary citizens, we don't enjoy the. In fact, yeah, I'll bring it up, and you can see it. We don't enjoy the protection that the police provide. Sean Fielding's girlfriend. Can you see that? I don't know if you can see that properly there, but here's the time. You can see that's the police number, and have a look at that time, 22:38. And no, they didn't leave a message on my answer phone. And I called them in the morning, and I've not heard anything back from them since. And that was Thursday morning, I think. Yeah, Thursday morning. So unfortunately, what this guy is now trying to do is basically claiming, look, and you saw me walking around my old neighbourhood the other day. He's claiming that I was beaten up by Asian men outside a burger bar over unevidenced and broad-brushed allegations repeatedly made, inferring that their entire community was either perpetrating or covering up child sex abuse. Now, you know, and everyone knows, at no point have I ever said that an entire community was either perpetrating or covering up child sex abuse. He is a liar. He's a constant liar. And now what he's saying is that I was beaten up and no action was taken against the perpetrators of the assault. So what that is a green light. It's a green light to those to come and attack me on the basis that nothing will happen to people who do. And shamelessly, Jenny Harrison, Councillor Jenny Harrison, someone send me Jenny Harrison's address. Jenny Harrison, I'm going to come and knock on your door and ask you why it is that you're endorsing Neil Wilby. Someone send me Jenny Harrison's address. I know where Arood Shah lives. I have no interest in going and knocking on her door. Probably catch COVID or something worse. Someone send me Jenny Harrison's door. The police can watch this. You can come and get me if you want, lads. Maybe that's when we can have this conversation as to why you're failing to protect people like me. So maybe that's the way to get the police to turn up, is if I turn up at Jenny Harrison's door. Councillor Jenny Harrison's door. Someone send me her address. I want to know. I'm going to ask her to her face why she's endorsing a malicious blogger and a proven liar who is inciting violence towards me. And straight away we have Mr. Mushtaq, the Tahir Mushtaq, joining in. Councillor Saeed Mushtaq's brother, fake lawyer, fake solicitor. And look, Gail Hadfield Granger, Neil Wilby, Tahir Mushtaq. Look at that. The triangle there is complete. Apparently, and this is the funniest bit, someone told me, and I didn't quite believe it, I'm getting sued, or there's a complaint being made to the police, and I'm being sued because I've referred, and I constantly refer to Irish Immy as Dale Cregan's getaway driver, and that he's not Dale Cregan's getaway driver, and I've somehow got it wrong, and it's me who's pushing this myth that he's Dale Cregan's getaway driver. This is in the MEN. A career criminal jailed for being police killer Dale Cregan's getaway driver has been recalled to prison. Mohammed Imran Ali, 47, from Oldham, claimed to be a devout Muslim and humanitarian after he was released partway through his sentence. The MEN has now learned he's back behind bars. The convicted drug trafficker was allegedly found with 2 mobile phones. Now, the serious thing is, my understanding, and McMahon won't come out and say anything otherwise, is that this man was recalled to prison after McMahon had given him a reference allowing him to continue, or supporting his claim to continue to live in Oldham, where he could do whatever you do with 2 mobile phones and get yourself recalled to prison. McMahon won't answer what took place, and now we see nationally what's taking place. We nationally see what's taking place where Keir Starmer is saying things needs to be transparent. Well, Keir, how about you turn around and look at Jim McMahon and what he's done in Oldham? Let me find that quote. Let me just find that quote from Keir Starmer. I put it up this morning. But for the purposes of this, I'll read the quote because I think it's a very, very It matters. It is about integrity. It is about taxpayers' money. Every day there is more evidence of this sleaze. Frankly, it stinks. Publish the details. Have the full inquiry. If there is nothing to see here, if there is nothing to see, publish everything. Have a full inquiry. Sunlight is the best disinfectant. I find myself agreeing with Sir Keir Starmer. It's a very rare moment for me, agreeing with Sir Keir Starmer. So come on, Sir Keir Starmer. Let's have it. Investigate McMahon. Investigate his links with these gangsters. The Chief Executive of Oldham Council, Dr. Carolyn Wilkins, £250,000 or thereabouts. 4 days a week she was work somewhere else, seconded, left the town in a mess during the height of COVID. So that's where our Chief Executive went. During the height of COVID, went off on a secondment. Has wrote back to Mr. Quigg, Lewis Quigg, who's the chairman of the Conservatives, because Lewis Quigg objected, rightly so, to a letter that went out that I shared with you, to all of the households with a picture of Sean Fielding and Dr. Carolyn Wilkins that many of us consider to be electioneering. Completely inappropriate. Days before an election of backclapping. It was like free promotions for Sean Fielding. Now, I guessed that it was about 70 to £100,000, this letter. Well, Lewis asked, and he got a response. But Lewis, come on, lad. There's a reason why these people have walked all over you. Grow a backbone and a bit of intelligence. Let's have a look at what she said. Here. This is the bit. The letter was issued and delivered prior to the start of the pre-election period. So what? We knew it informed the pre-election period. And cost, this is the important bit, and cost £38,740 to produce. So £38,740 to produce. The words to produce are really important there. Because the obvious question is, if it costs £38,740 to produce Dr. Carolyn Wilkins, one, who signed it off? But secondly, and more importantly perhaps, why have you omitted the word to post or for all of it? There's nothing there. The to produce is interesting. So it costs £38,740 to produce. But was that the total cost associated with this letter, from producing it to printing it to distributing it before it landed on my doorstep or other people's doorsteps? How much did it cost in total? The use of the word to produce is really, really interesting. Also, it was drafted by the communications team and approved by both the leader and me. There's no such thing as it being approved by both the leader and you. You're the one who's responsible, Dr. Carolyn Wilkins. Yeah. £38,740 to produce. How much did it cost in total? Dr. Carolyn Wilkins, of course, is neck deep in the sale of Glodic baths, the unlawful sale of Glodic baths, which is was an attempt by the council to rig an election. Lewis is on form. He's also got another letter off. He's told the Oldham Times they are persona non grata. Until the editorial stance of the newspaper changes, I and others shall not engage with what I consider to be peddlers of fake news. Go on, Lewis. That's because they are peddlers of fake news. What have I been telling you for the last 2 years? They're on the council payroll. Despite having a written guarantee that they would give fair, balanced and equal coverage of this election period, we have now seen them publish more articles for Labour and Lib Dems and treat the Conservatives and others like the poor relations. That's because their future revenue is reliant on these people staying in control. They're only looking after the hand that feeds them, Lewis. Like the fielding fiver. I like it, Lewis. I like that. Like a fielding fiver. It is clear that the Oldham Times words are not worth their bare-faced value. Lovely. I like that. I like the bare-faced. It's really good. Bare-faced value. What is worse for a paper that claims to be the voice of Oldham? The news editor and other journalists are holed up in Oxfordshire and leafy South Manchester. That's it, mate. You're getting it. The fake liberal privileged metropolitan elite. That's the terminology I use, Lewis. They know naught about Oldham and bugger all about its problems or what its people want. I couldn't agree more, Lewis. I find myself agreeing with a Conservative. Wow. No, Lewis, seriously, in all seriousness, well done. Well done for growing a backbone and speaking out against corruption in this town. Because that's what this is, corruption. Speaking of corruption in this town, you can see the Labour Party leaflet of this gentleman, can't you? St Mary's. I think the immigration services would be interested in the whereabouts of this gentleman. Anything to say, Arood Shah? Or Sahid Mushtaq, perhaps? Anyone else in Glodick, part of the Labour Party lot up there? Where are their policies? Have you checked out their candidates and their background? Did he really just say that with Arood Shah as his deputy and Abdul Jabbar as other deputy? Their backgrounds. Have you checked out their candidates and their backgrounds? Oh. And here's his quote about the litter. A bit of, I wouldn't have approved this response if I was consulted first. Well, that just shows you're not in charge, doesn't it, Sean? There's no more interest in that. Here's what we knew all along. 2,000 homes to be built in Oldham Town Centre. This is posted by Abdul Aftab Miyakaha. He's a committee member of Oldham Central Mosque, member of the OBA. I think he's also, is he, have I made this up? Is he not the agent, Abdul Jabbar's agent in the elections? He is as well. Always to be found out campaigning with Jim McMahon. Labour plans 2,000 new homes. There you go. 2,000 new homes. Labour plans it. He's touting these new homes to the people of Coldust. Now you know, and I know why they're touting these new homes. The Fox-Denton partnership that was up. Oldham Council are partners in that. Just so in case any of you wanted to know about a development in Fox-Denton in Chatterton, the council are partners. Oh, I wanted to bring this up. I think it's really interesting. Particularly to the Muslim viewers here who listen to me and never comment, never like, never donated a penny, but listen nonetheless. Often using fake names. in case anyone finds out who they really are. Keir Starmer ignores Palestinian letter amongst iftar cancellation controversy. I'll put myself back up. So what Keir Starmer did was he was meant to have iftar as a guest with this organisation. And this organisation boycotts dates that are produced in the occupied territories in Palestine. Now bear with me for 1 second. I believe in boycotting. It's a legitimate tool in a democracy to object to something you don't like. And this group objected to the buying dates from occupied lands, occupied territories. They have every right to do that, and Keir Starmer shouldn't have objected to not turning up. And my reasoning behind that is, I have friends of mine who object to halal meat. They think it's animal cruelty. And they boycott places where halal meat is served. And I think that's right. I think in a democracy, we all have the right to exercise these processes through which we can lobby for change. Now, having held a chicken in my hand when I was 4 or 5 years old and seen my dad slice its throat, it left me traumatized. And I eat meat very rarely. So, someone who doesn't want to eat halal meat and boycotts halal meat stores, I'm completely fine with. Just as I am completely fine with people who boycott goods produced in occupied spaces, or more recently the Chinese concentration camps. Was it HMS, H&M? H&M. Boycotting is a tool we value and use in a liberal democracy. Keir Starmer doesn't want to really live in a liberal democracy. Which brings me on to where the cartel fight is taking place. Massive cartel fight. Jabbar is fearing for his seat. And fearing for his seat, just out of the blue, we've got this thing created. Removing barriers to apprenticeship specifically for coal dust. They're taking 10 coal dust residents into fully paid level 2 apprenticeship positions in customer service, business administration from coal dust. And here is the council. Those are council addresses. Do you see? Oldham.gov.uk and shared by I Love Oldham, which is a living coal dust. See? Do you know what that is? That, my friends, is a bribe during Purdah, because those 10 places will be touted to the children of the cartels who supply them with the most votes. Cheryl Bates, Minaz Dinani, they are involved, complicitly or through ignorance. This isn't the time to be promoting or advertising opportunities like this. 10 places. Ask Moib, ask Ali Akbar, ask any of the others from Coldus what's going on there. It is a bribe. The same as the houses. Please, if you haven't subscribed, if you haven't liked, I've only got 47 likes. Oh well. We're nearly towards the end. I will leave you with this. Another one. A final example of council dodginess. Roberts, the bloke, the Tory from South Chatterton, runs the news at South Chatterton page. I get on with him. He's a, I think he cares about his community, and if I lived in South Chatterton, I'd vote for him. He wanted to know how it was that Jim McMahon got himself into Chatterton Town Hall. And he asked 4 questions to the council. And this is what the council's response was. Now I'll go for the response, then I'll deconstruct it for you. Was the office space advertised at any time? In other words, in the local press, on social media, or on the council's webpage? Remember? Have a look at the question. Was the office space advertised? At the point that Mr. McMahon was making, and this is the response. At the time that Mr. McMahon was making his property search, the council on its website was offering rooms to hire at Chatterton Town Hall. Pause. The question was the office space advertised at any time? The response was, Oldham Council was offering rooms to hire at Chatterton Town Hall. That means, no, the office space was not advertised. The council are trying to answer a different question. Now, this might not be a lie in the traditional sense, but it's deceit. This is complete deceit. Complete and utter deceit by this council officer, and we'll get to his name in a minute. So Robert's asking, was the office space advertised? And the response is, the council on its website was offering rooms to hire. No, the office space wasn't advertised, was it, Dr. Caroline Wilkins? You've allowed Jim McMahon to rock up and take up residence in Chatterton Town Hall. The office space wasn't advertised. McMahon got an opportunity that no one else could have. To try and mitigate their nonsense, the council officer expands in a way that's not unnecessary, but just dig themselves in further. The council's website also offered a service of support to businesses in the process of moving, stating that Oldham Council could help find a property and referring such inquiries to the Business Growth and Investment Team. It was as a result of the dialogue between Mr. McMahon's office and the Business Growth and Investment Team that the rooms available at Chatterton Town Hall were considered, as a number of properties to let advertised on the available properties website have been discounted as unsuitable. So that is an admittance. It's an admittance. That is an admittance that the office space was not advertised. Do you see? The office space was not advertised. So if the office space was not advertised, how was it that the council came to the figure of £1,000 a month, inclusive of service charge and rates? How was it that the council came to a figure of £1,000 a month? Exactly, Sarah. And that is my point, exactly. Why is Jim McMahon being given an office space at Chatterton Town Hall? Who has allowed this in the council? This is a disgrace. McMahon should be nowhere near Chatterton Town Hall. I can see it now. He's not just got an office there, has he? He's got the run of the place. Look at the building. It's a lovely civic space. He's got the run of the place. He should never have been given that space. The lease term is 3 years from the 30th of March, subject to mutual break options. I want someone at Oldham Council to explain why it is that the MP has been given at mates rates Chatterton Town Hall. At breakneck speed, he made his inquiry in early February, and the lease was completed on the 30th of March. And the council officer's name? Peter Wood, Head of Strategic Assets and Facilities Management. Peter Wood, you're a disgrace. We're a week away, just over a week away from the elections. The head of the snake is Jim McMahon. The MP for a town should not have control of the council in a town and should not be operating in this way. That's not what MPs are meant to do. But he can't help himself, because he knows he needs to keep control of the town to secure the block vote to keep him as an MP from which he can launch his platform. I hope to see you all next Sunday. I look forward to where I started today. If anyone believes I have in any way abused them or assaulted them, my advice is to go to the police and report it as a crime. And my first line of defense will be, what dialogue have you had prior to you reporting it with a heroin dealer and a counsellor's brother and perhaps a malicious blogger whilst we're at it? No. By now most people know. I don't fear any of you.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.